The crypto markets literally give you this opportunity only once every 4 years. I have been waiting for this forever, it feels like. Finally, the opportunity is here, guys. I've been around for pretty much all of the previous market cycles, and I'm telling you, it literally plays out exactly the same every single time. So in today's video, we're gonna discuss where we are in the market cycle. And if we're so bullish, Kyle, then why is the price of Bitcoin not going up? We're gonna answer that in this video. And I'm gonna tell you guys exactly what's going on, who's buying, who's holding, who's selling, and exactly how I am positioning myself to take full advantage of this once in a cycle period. But actually, because of the position that we're in right now, this is more of like literally a once in a lifetime opportunity, guys. I'm really excited to bring this video to you. I know I've been away for a while. I'll tell you why that was as well. So if you're excited to dive into this video today, if you need a little reassurance, that's what we're gonna give you guys today. And without further ado, let's dive into it. If you're new to the channel, what's up? My name is Chasse. I've been in space for 12 years. My goal here is to help you guys achieve the most gains as humanly possible during this upcoming crypto bull run, and to share with you guys my experience and what I'm doing myself, and all the awesome alpha that my research team helps me come up with to make these videos for you guys. And here's the Bitcoin chart, still ranging sideways, and it is kind of boring here at 58.7, and people are just literally just not here anymore. And so if you're still here watching this, give yourself a pat on the back. Congratulations, because you are getting an opportunity that literally 99% of the people on the planet, 99.9% of the people aren't, right? And the information that you're about to get in this video is going to show you exactly what the smart money is doing, exactly what's going on in the market. So you could have some maybe reassurance in kind of conviction in the moves that you might decide to make with the information I'm about to present to you guys. So you can see that we started the day off here with a nice little pump, and as soon as the US markets opened, a little bit of correction. That's normal, right? And I'm going to tell you guys about the events that are happening that people are uncertain of coming up this week that is causing uncertainty in the market. Remember, markets hate uncertainty. As soon as there's clarity and in a certain direction, then at least people know how to trade that, how to move, how to react with the markets. But with uncertainty and overhang looming, there's uncertainty, and people position themselves away from risk assets such as crypto. And in this case, that seems to be the case. And when we come over here and look at the ETFs, you can see Bitcoin ETF flow has been decent. You have actually BlackRock coming in here yesterday buying almost $100 billion clip of Bitcoin. There has literally been only 1 day since the Bitcoin ETF started trading that BlackRock had a negative outflow. Just one. They now have almost $20.5 billion of Bitcoin they've accumulated, and BlackRock is on track to be the world's largest Bitcoin holder. Not now, not yet, but certainly probably within the next few years, I expect them to be. And we know that kind of probably Larry Fink can pull any kind of strings he wants to within the White House. And you know, for me, that is kind of reassuring a little bit, because we're going to get into a little bit of politics in the episode. Not that I'm trying to get into the politics from the show perspective, but only the fact that I think that if BlackRock says they're bullish on Bitcoin and crypto, then that is reassurance that the administration at least has to respect kind of what Larry's doing. So we know that we can be bullish on real world assets. We know that we can be bullish on Ethereum. We know we can be bullish on Bitcoin, these kind of things, right? And so the ETH ETFs haven't been as exciting, but I told you that, right? It has been less than a month since the Ethereum ETF started trading. And I've told you 4 to 6 weeks post ETH starting trading, we're going to see exactly this, the grayscale hemorrhaging out, the sales coming out of it, and it's going to take some time before the Ethereum ETFs, you know, they just repeated the exact same thing from Bitcoin, right? So we still have, in my opinion, about 2 more weeks of this happening before we can start to see some clarity, some direction, right? This also includes the Mt. Gox unloading as well. But what do we need to be looking at right now? We need to be looking at the big macro picture of what's going on with Bitcoin and crypto, right? We know Bitcoin is king crypto, it leads the markets, and so that's what we should be watching. So the Norwegian Central Bank bought 1,123,930 shares of MicroStrategy. If you're buying MicroStrategy, you're buying Bitcoin, right? Because that is their entire now strategy of MicroStrategy, we know that not only do they not have cash reserves, they got Bitcoin reserves. We also know that they're leveraged to the max on Bitcoin. We also know that Michael Saylor is now getting into Bitcoin technology, right? And so if the case is that the Norwegian central bank is buying MicroStrategy shares, we know that they're bullish Bitcoin. The Swiss central bank also bought 466,000 shares of MicroStrategy because they want exposure to Bitcoin. Obviously, that's why you buy MicroStrategy. We also have news that South Korea's national pension fund, a $112 billion fund, had acquired $33.7 million in MicroStrategy shares as well, right? We also have from Wu Blockchain saying, according to K33 analyst Vedel Lunde, the Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund indirectly owns 2,446 BTC, an increase of 938 BTC from December 31st, 2023. The growth likely originates from predetermined algo-based sector weighting and risk diversification. So we have sovereign funds. I've also talked to you guys in previous videos about different states' pension funds within America. We know that I think it's Wisconsin, we got Jersey City, and there's at least one or two more local pension funds that were buying Bitcoin already. These are just the first dominoes to fall, right? The decision as an asset manager for one of these big funds isn't about, are you bullish on Bitcoin or not? That's not a decision for them to be able to make. They have a legal responsibility to do what's in the best interest of the fund, which means that you need to do your due diligence and look at which is going to be the best performing asset class. Well, you're not holding cash, right? Because you know that the cash supply is being inflated and being debased on a regular basis. You know that real estate prices are starting to come down, so you're not going to be in real estate. You know, you're probably going to be in some stocks. You're probably going to be in some gold, and you have to be in Bitcoin because if you look at the past 15 years, the best performing asset class on the planet has been Bitcoin, right? And so it's not a matter of their opinion if they like it or not. They have a legal responsibility to allocate. So we can see from this on the screen here that there's $12.3 trillion in sovereign wealth funds around the planet. So if 1% of that eventually, and I'm not saying it's going to happen this year, but I'm saying it's going to happen, and probably some of these funds will do more than 1%, right? They're going to dabble in it. And as it appreciates, they're going to start dabbling a little bit more. And so eventually maybe they start allocating more. Maybe they start allocating 2%, 3%, 5%, and so on. But let's just assume, you know, over the next 5 to 10 years, they allocate 1%. Well, that's $123 billion at just 1%. That's huge, right? BlackRock's only done 20 billion so far, right? So we now know, and I've told you guys for a while, that the sovereign funds, the pension funds, these guys are starting to come into the market now. We knew, because we've been telling you guys ever since the ETF started trading, it was going to take some time, 6 months plus, at least 6 months, for these guys to start pulling the trigger conservatively, getting their toes wet, and then eventually going deeper and deeper and allocating more and more and more. Now, if you combine central banks, as we just stated, sovereign wealth funds, and pension funds, the total AUM of that is 55 trillion, and 1% is 550 billion. So again, it's the same logic that applies. You have a legal fiduciary responsibility to allocate to the best performing asset to perform the best on behalf of your investors, your LPs, right? Your companies that rely on you to make sure that you return profit for their investors, for their employees, whatever the case may be. Very, very bullish. This is the long-term residual perpetual flow that will come into Bitcoin no matter what. This is why the ETFs were so significant. And so that's why I believe that we will have less volatile markets in Bitcoin moving forward as this stuff starts to happen, because this is adoption happening. And these guys aren't looking to day trade, right? They're going to allocate and they're going to hold for a very long time. And where we are right now, guys, is par for the course, right? From the peak to the lowest point of the pullback, which happened, like a couple weeks ago or whatever, was a 32% pullback. We've talked about this so many times before, of this being par for course of any bull run. They're getting less common, right? There was a 32% pullback in the last bull run of 2021. And in the one before, there was many pullbacks, 43%, 44%, 40%, whatever, right? So this was expected to happen. It did happen. And it always happens around some events, right? It always happens around something that causes some sort of black swan or whatever, but it recovers, right? And we're still within the time frame post-halving that we would expect to see this kind of, I mean, historically, it's kind of always been like this, right? And again, back to uncertainties, as Trader T says here, Grayscale ETH ETF, net flow, negative $20.3 million. So far, they've offloaded 29.1% so far. They're estimated, according to whoever this is, that they're going to offload 50%. So they got another 20% to go. And so that kind of puts it in line with what I was saying about that 6-week mark. I think by the next 2 weeks, there will be the predominant amount of what they're going to offload out of the coffers at that point. So remember the saying, guys, be greedy when others are fearful, be fearful when others are greedy. And people are fearful right now, right? Yesterday, fear and greed index was 28. Today, it's about 30. This is low, right? When we go over here and we look at the opportunity here, this is a chart of the fear and greed index. Last time you look at how low it is over here. It's so low. Last time you had this kind of range, look at the price after that, right? This is the price over here, this black line. And you can see that right after you have this extreme fear period is when the price goes up. You definitely would have want to have been a buyer over here, right? You don't want to buy when people are greedy. You want to buy in fear. This is the golden rule of investing, and it feels counterintuitive. It doesn't feel right to do it. It feels like everything's going down and that you would be a fool to invest when things are going down. And we have so much macro FUD and the talks about recession and jobs, all that kind of stuff. But remember, whales are buying. BlackRock is buying. They're not selling. So look at what the smart money does, not what your friend from work tells you to do. Don't take financial advice from people who are getting shaken out right now. They want your Bitcoin, right? So don't sell it to them. Historically, as Jella over here says, in recent years, Bitcoin has developed a bit of a choppy summers that resolve upwards around mid-October. This is what I've been telling you guys about. Remember, we have the FTX injection coming in October. To me, this is the catalyst. We have the overhang we're dealing with right now, Grayscale, Mt. Gox, US government potentially selling off, the German government was selling off, talks of recession looming, Kamala Harris, all this kind of stuff, right? But then that all goes away soon. And we're going to talk about interest rate cuts in a bit. But October, historically, has always been a very, very, very good month. And that's kind of my expectations of when I believe we're going to start heading up. And we're almost in September, guys. Let me know in the comments below if the next video, because I have been buying over the past 2 weeks fairly aggressively. And it's nice right now. Like one of the coolest things about right now is that you actually know, we know the things that have been running the hardest. We've been able to see that from which things have the best narrative, right? We see kind of, if we're going to be looking at memes, for example, we know the kind of the blue chip memes, they're all down right now, 50 to 60+%. You know these ones, right? Like Popcat and Whiff and Bonk and, you know, Cat and a Dog World. These things, Brett, for example, they're all down like 60%, but you know they're going to pop like crazy once the markets recover, right? So let me know in the comments below if you guys want me to tell you what I've been buying on this dip, and maybe I'll make a video on that tomorrow or something. And as Lark over here says, that 75% of all Bitcoin has not moved in the past 6 months. This is what I've been, if you've been watching my channel for a long time, you know that kind of what I've been talking about is that every single day, someone gets orange pilled, right? There's a new Michael Saylor that comes on board, right? And to some degree. And these guys aren't day traders. They are literally people like me who acquires Bitcoin and puts it in cold storage. It is not going to touch it for a very long time. There are a lot of people that day trade, right? And that's what you see the volume moving around, people trading Bitcoin. But every single day, people come along, they acquire some Bitcoin, they stick it in cold storage, and they're never taking it off. And so that is constantly removing circulating supply. And we're seeing record low amounts of Bitcoin on exchanges. A lot of people will refer to technical charts and they'll say, like, look at the last bull market, this is what we can expect. But what we've never dealt with before in Bitcoin's entire history is true supply shock. And what we're seeing right now on a daily basis are whales buying way more and holding than is being minted every single day. That can't last forever, right? And so eventually when people start FOMOing in, they're gonna try to go buy Bitcoin, they can't find it anymore, right? And I'm not talking about like 1 or 2 Bitcoin, I'm like, they're gonna wanna buy a lot of it. And there's gonna be nowhere for them to buy it. And that is what we call supply shock, right? And it's a real thing. And that's why I think that when a lot of other people say, a lot of other crypto YouTubers might say, don't buy Bitcoin, it's boring, it's not gonna perform as well. I'm not so sure about that, right? I think there might be a day when we see supply shock from Bitcoin and Bitcoin starts ripping, and I mean ripping, because it's true supply shock kicks in, true institutional, governmental, pension funds, all of them start FOMOing in, and it literally will suck liquidity out of everything else, and Bitcoin dominance will increase. Now, historically, when Bitcoin goes up, we see kind of the altcoin market following, and then altcoins rally twice as hard, 3 times as hard, 5 times as hard as Bitcoin. But I think it would be a mistake to not be allocated to Bitcoin to some degree. You don't want to miss that boat if it happens. And it seems like one of the most likely things to happen. As you can see here from this slide, 60% of the US largest hedge funds have exposure to Bitcoin. What do they know that your friends don't know? What do they don't know that the people who are telling you not to buy Bitcoin don't know? Well, these are some of the biggest asset managers in the world with the most sophisticated minds doing the best research to understand where they should be investing their capital, and they're putting it in Bitcoin. Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley took stakes in US spot Bitcoin ETFs in Q2, shows filing. So some of the biggest banks everybody is buying Bitcoin right now. But you're wondering if you should be in the market? Remember, do what others are doing, not what they're telling you to do, or what people are warning you about. Because the big money, the smart money, are buying Bitcoin. ETFs keep buying. Elections are happening very soon. Funding hit record negative numbers. We'll talk about this in a second. Stocks pushing all-time highs. All-time low Bitcoin exchanges. We just talked about that. Total leverage in the market is low. It's a healthy market. We're not over-leveraged. We don't need an unwinding of leverage. It's very healthy at the moment. In fact, funding records are negative. We'll talk about that in a second. Global money supply increasing. Fed cutting in September. Stablecoins actually pumping. We'll talk about that as well. And you can see that this funding rate is actually negative. What does that mean? That means most people are short right now. Normally, when you take out leverage long, for example, you're paying a funding rate. But now, they'll actually pay you to take out leverage long, right? And the last time this happened, look at this in the chart over here, was over here. Last time that you had a negative funding rate would have been a good time to buy Bitcoin, right? And we see it's even a deeper negative funding rate right now.
The second reason is there are forced sellers.
This is the head of digital assets research at Van Eck, right? One of the Bitcoin ETF managers.
In the market. The German government has sold all of its Bitcoin, $2 billion worth. The US government is selling Silk Road related coins. There are 2 major bankruptcies where creditors have just been paid out. That's Mt. Gox and Genesis. So with all this forced selling behind us, and this is a typical seasonal pattern where Bitcoin tends to struggle in the kind of 1 to 3 months after the halving, which was in April, and right pre-election, as the market comes to grips with whatever candidate wins, we're in for 4 more years of reckless fiscal policy. The history is that Bitcoin really hits its stride at that point. So we're buyers here. We think we're covered. So you connect the dots for us.
They're buyers. They think it's a good time to buy. Again, watch what they're doing. Not financial advice. Make your own decisions. Of course, Marty Party over here says, week ahead in macro. China's prime rates on the 20th. U.S. FOMC minutes on the 21st. You got the BOJ special sessions rate hike on 23rd. Jerome Powell to speak at the Jackson Hole Symposium on the 23rd. Historically, 70% of the time after this symposium, the markets rally. This time, I don't expect to be any different. As you can see here from this chart, 70% of the time, markets are up for the week following the Jackson Hole meeting scheduled this week. And over here on Zero Hedge, it says on Wednesday, the Bureau of Labor Statistics will downward revise jobs for April 2023 to March 2024 by up to 1 million. This means that all beats recorded in the past year will have been missed, and the US job markets are in far worse shape than the admin would like to admit, meaning that there's actually 1 million more unemployed people than that the government has been telling us so far. So what does that mean? Well, the Fed has responsibility, right? It has two roles: jobs and interest rates. Keep interest rates low, keep jobs high. They have levers to pull. What's their levers? Well, it's interest rates. Cut them down or raise them up. Well, if jobs are in bad shape, you don't want to make money more expensive. You want to make it cheaper, right? You need to make it cheaper so that people can be more entrepreneurial. They can take loans out from the banks, all these things so they can create new jobs, right? So expecting 25 to 50 basis points rate cut coming in September will be very bullish for the market. Additionally, they kind of have to do it, right? Because right now, the US debt, all-time highs, as always, it never stops climbing. But right now, the interest payments are projected to hit an all-time high of 1.2 trillion over the next 12 months, even if the Fed were to cut the interest rates by 200 basis points or by 2%, right? So right now, they can't afford the debt because interest is too high. There's too much debt. So they have to cut it to at least try to make it a little bit more tolerable on the interest rate payments. Otherwise, it's just going to completely run away from them and take off and be completely out of control. Not that it's already, but they need to somehow get a handle on that because the GDP can't even afford basically these kind of interest rates, right? Certainly not in a productive way. And of course, the Democratic National Convention came and there was a failure to discuss Bitcoin from Kamala, right? And she came out saying that she was going to be pro-crypto and blah, blah, blah. We don't see it, right? We don't see it from her. We don't see it in the discussions happening. On contrast, there's also the rumor that came that she wanted to hire Gary Gensler as a Treasury Secretary. And then they're like, oh, no. The DNC says, no, that was just a rumor. It's not true, blah, blah, blah. They realized that was an F up, right? And so they denied it. But we do know that Gensler has been working for Elizabeth Warren, who's on the Democratic side. Like, don't be fooled into believing that if Kamala comes in office, things will change dramatically. It's basically the same deep state that has been running the country for the past 4 years already. So expect similar policy, expect Gensler to still be somewhere in power, and expect less than favorable conditions for crypto in the US markets. However, I need to remind you that it's never stopped bull markets from happening before. It just means that there'll be less participation from Americans and business will move abroad if they continue to enforce and crack down. So I don't think it's a huge deal. Yes, it's a better situation if Trump were to get elected. It would be even better for Bitcoin if RFK were to be elected, but that's just not possible, unfortunately, as an independent. It's a shame. But anyway, that's just the facts. Now, obviously, we've talked about this before, but Coinbase comes out and says they believe that young crypto voters will be deciding factors in elections. We know that in the past, when it was Biden versus Trump, that it came down to like 50,000 or 300,000 votes or whatever. But there's 50 million plus crypto holders in America that can vote that are going to be voting on what's best for their portfolios, right? And right now that clearly seems like a Trump type of vote. And it's pretty clear that in the Republican Party, they've got some clear guidelines for crypto and how they're going to operate. They've been very clear in removing SEC from enforcement, creating favorable laws for crypto entrepreneurs to be able to thrive and create and innovate, and also more favorable tax conditions for crypto entrepreneurs, things like that, which are much more favorable, which in all honesty, if these things were to happen, then it would make me much more interested in potentially moving back to the States, or at least being there more often than I am now. I would like to see more favorable crypto conditions in the States. Obviously, this would be a huge thing if it happened, right? Very, very bullish for the markets if Trump was elected. He also said that he would consider Elon Musk as a cabinet advisor if he was elected president. Well, I wouldn't mind saying Elon. I think he's full of great ideas. And he made this post trolling a little bit, just saying he's willing to serve as a Department of Government Efficiency or Doge, right? And so, of course, just always trolling the markets. And Poly Markets shows the race getting closer. I was shocked after being away from the markets while I was filming the show that Kamala had actually pulled ahead of Trump, and now it's getting closer. And, we'll see what happens here. Yeah, I'm not going to go too much more into that. But you can see, historically, we've always had a rally after presidential elections. As you can see, this blue dotted line is Bitcoin halving. The purple line is the elections. And you can see after every single one of them, we went into a rally. What do you think is going to happen this time? You think it's going to be different? No. Also, guys, you need to be smart in this industry, right? Over the past couple of weeks, I've seen multiple cases of people being phished, SIM attacks, SIM swaps. And then I saw this, 3 billion people exposed in a massive unreported data theft, 3 billion people. It likely includes you guys. Now, what does this mean? Is this a problem? Well, you guys need to be very, very careful. And our channel partner, NordVPN, is offering you a very sweet deal. You can see I always usually use it to protect my data. But for the video, I turned it off so you can see that it clearly shows you that I am in Bali right now, right? And that is not good. And everything that's going back and forth right now is in plain text. And there's so much data of mine that's being leaked when I don't have my VPN on. And malicious attackers can use this to do things like phishing attacks, social engineering, where they can get in this data leak, there was social security numbers, your parents' maiden names, your all date of birth, addresses where you've lived. This kind of stuff you do not want to get leaked out. So for a special deal, if you use the link in the description below, guys, you're paying next to nothing, less than a cup of coffee literally per month to protect yourself. And you can use VPNs for all kinds of other cool stuff too, right? Getting on a specific service that's not available in a certain country, for example, and a bunch of other stuff. Nord is great. I use it every single day, guys. There's a link in the description below where you can get it for practically free, guys. You should be using this. Be smart. Don't be a dummy. Awesome service. And we know, as we talked about many times on the channel before, we watch stablecoin issuance. If stablecoins are going up, it's very bullish for the market. And as you can see from these charts over here, everything is up and to the right. Stablecoin issuance on all chains, stablecoin issuance altogether has actually come over here and hit an all-time high, where we have also focused on M2 money supply. We know that's ticking up. But stablecoin production is actually at all-time high as well, hitting $165 billion. That means that people are taking their crappy fiat, converting it into stablecoin, and then using that to go buy things like Bitcoin and other crypto assets. Very, very bullish for the market. Now, where have I been for the past 2 weeks? Well, I've been filming a TV show, Crypto Nights, and it was an awesome experience. If you guys are curious to know, it was a lot of fun. And I thought it was a really professional format. And I think that's going to be very, very good for us as a community, the channel, and giving a lot of exposure to really great projects. And I want to bring those to you guys as well. And here is a really fun little clip of a time lapse that they shot from the stage that I was at. So you can see here, and I'm going to take the volume off because I don't want to get a copyright strike, but you can see, just so you know, here's the sound stage and them building it in a time lapse. And you can see over here, let me share the screen with you guys, time lapse. So over here, you've got essentially what they were calling the boiler room, right? Or the pressure cooker. And this is kind of where the KOLs hung out and the projects that we're going to be coming in pitching, and kind of you got commentary from there, and you can see this TV over here. They're watching actually what's going on over here, which is where we were, the knights, the judges, and then projects would walk through this hallway right here and come out and pitch to us. And it was a really fun production, super high quality set, as you'll see here in just a second. This is them setting up in a high speed time lapse. And I was just really impressed when I walked in there. I didn't kind of know what to expect when I was coming into it, to be honest. And the second I walked on set and saw how highly professional it was, how good it looked, I was really, really pleasantly surprised. The projects were great. The format was great. There was a lot of really cool plot twists that you guys will get to see. So I'm excited for the show to come out. The first episode should be coming out in late October, early November, and we're already kind of planning on season 2 as well. And so I think this is going to be great for the channel, guys. Great for us as a community, guys. If you haven't done this already, make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to the channel if you're not, and let me know in the comments below if tomorrow you want me to make a video about what I have been buying in this amazing opportunity that presents itself to us very, very rarely, and we know exactly where the market is going. I'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye.